On tonight's South Bank show, the band who put the roll back into British rock, the Darkness. Three of the band grew up together here in Suffolk, and indeed the sensibility they express in some of their songs is as English as a fish and chip shop in a rainy seaside town like Lowestoft. They had to put up with a lot of criticism and were often loftily dismissed, but the dazzling success of their first self-financed album has been a sweet revenge. They swept the board at this year's Brits and were also named Songwriters of the Year at the Ivor Novello Awards. It's been a year of relentless worldwide touring for the band. We joined them on the road in America and then on a brief visit back home to find out how they're coping with the adulation their fame has brought.
Is lacking is rock. We've been consumed by emo and crap, and what the Darkness brings is something real, and it's cock rock, and it's awesome.
I think they're going to take America by storm because America needs irony, and they need satire, and they need humor in their music, and they just rock.
Just to see them. That's how bad they rock. And I'm also going to see them in LA, in San Diego, wherever else they are.
On this American tour, the Darkness covered 18,000 miles, starting out in Wisconsin and then going literally from coast to coast. In among all the sound checks, the gigs and the travelling, the Darkness also do a lot of promotion. Here they are arriving at an LA radio station to do a show advising teenagers on their problems.
All right, that's the Darkness on K-Rock, and it's the Darkness literally a foot away from me. Justin, Frankie, Dan is over there, and wait, I didn't get your name.
Ed.
Ed, how are you guys? Welcome to K-Rock, American style.
And now we'll go to the phones.
Perfect.
Yeah? All right, so here's how the show works. Young kids call in trouble, and we make fun of them. Lola, you're 15. What's up?
A young girl who's been raped and who is bulimic calls in to get some advice.
So you
that would not be losing one's virginity. That would be being
getting raped.
That's being the victim of sexual abuse.
Talking about rape, for fuck's sake.
This is not what we're on this earth for. I think you guys carry on doing what you're doing.
But be careful though, because the celebrities play a very important role here, because that's who this age group listens to.
I'm not fucking putting up with that. That's a joke. Yeah,
like, I
I just first meet him and we agreed to have sex.
While Alyssa, you will sexualize lots of your feelings. It's going to be very difficult.
It's not funny.
Yeah, we're not really qualified to kind of talk about this.
No, I understand. We got a lot of tough questions tonight. I mean,
This is not our territory. Okay. Right? You don't go in there and give advice to people who have been genuinely phoning up for help and try and be jovial. This is really, really inappropriate. Oh, you know, some fucked up people who are listening to it, they're going to buy the album. Who gives a fuck? You know, they need to get better. We've got no place here. Get them out. We're going.
The Darkness walked out of the show.
I'm not being modest when I say we want to be a legendary band. That's anything but modest. I mean, I just think you can't sit there and suck your own cock because you've had one successful album. The point is, you know, that's nothing. That's the drop of the ocean. We did that ourselves. We want to be working with the best producers, making prolifically successful and brilliant records. We want to be satisfied and fulfilled in our workplace. We want to be, I mean, we love it on the road. But at the end of the day, we're on the road a bit too much in some ways because we're touring one album's worth of material, a handful of B-sides, and squeezing new material in whenever we get the opportunity to write it, which isn't often enough. And you know, we're not gonna maintain this momentum unless we get a chance to develop, because we're all gonna get totally sick of it.
Okay, I think the thing about rock music is it requires kids to spend a long time in their bedrooms learning the instrument, and it also requires a certain amount of desperation, because that's where the blues comes from, you know? Guitarists these days have all these different effects which make it quite easy to play guitar, but Dan and Justin don't really play with many effects. They're both really good guitar players. It's quite rare to have that. That's the key of this band, really, is having two brothers who are opposites in so many different ways, and yet have the key things in common and play guitar in a completely different style, and the blend is really nice, and that's what creates the dynamic.
Although the Darkness have spent much of last year trying to break America, the roots of their music are here, in tranquil Suffolk.
Sorry I'm late.
It was here in this Suffolk pub on Millennium Eve that brothers Justin and Dan decided to form the Darkness with two of their oldest friends.
This is the legendary Boozer, where we had a Millennium Eve celebration. Family only, a few friends, a lot of drink. I think I just danced to, what was it? Bohemian Rhapsody. And it descended into a full body workout, had everyone going. It's just like being at the gym, it's fantastic. At that time, I think I was doing music for adverts. Dan was doing session guitaring. And I think we just realised that I had the capacity to entertain folk using my body alone. Imagine what it'd be like if you could sing, he was saying. It'd be brilliant. I said to him, Dan, you need to hear this larynx, old boy. It's a goer, it's a keeper. You should listen to it sometime.
The story is that after this night, you started to move into that, and the way we went like that. Yeah. What really happened?
That's what really happened.
Oh, fine.
It is true. Because I mean, at the time, even on the night, we knew what the lineup was going to be. I insisted on having Ed in the band because for me, it was the first band as a singer, and I wanted it to be a little journey with him as well. You know, it's because Dan and Frank are quite experienced musicians. I wanted to have someone else who was wet behind the ears in the same way that I was at the time, you know. And the dynamic works, really. It still applies today. Those two are the driven ones with a sort of better understanding of how the industry works, and me and Ed are the ones that piss around and almost provide the energy, I suppose, in a way. We anticipated being a pub band, really, which we were in the first place. And I think people respected that, really, sort of not prepared to play the game. We did things our way, and the momentum gathered because we had such a strong following, and I think people who never listened to that type of music before were into us because of our, I suppose, punk attitude, really, where, you know, it was just we were determined to stick either the middle finger or index as well up at everyone else and say, well, you can do your thing, we'll do our thing, it's fine. Yeah.
2004 began on a high note for the Darkness with the Brit Awards, although they arrived for rehearsals exhausted straight off a flight from Oslo.
It's cool, so it's a concession to them.
2003 was what they call the roller coaster ride, but it only had ups, you know. And this is like the peak of it. And from that point on, you've got a choice. You can either just hold on and wait for it to go pear-shaped, or tits up, as they say, or you can look forward to next year, where it'll be the Grammys and the Brits. This tour is like an award ceremony tour, sort of thing, so it's like a lap of honour for everything that we achieved last year. And it's up to us how hard we worked from that point on. Every jukebox in every pub, in every town, near every city, in every country in the world has got rock on the jukebox. And why don't people do that? You know, why don't people do classic rock anymore? I'll tell you why, because it became ridiculous and people were afraid of being ridiculed, and they decided they wanted to be cool, but cool's a very restrictive word, you know, it's the opposite of freedom almost, because, you know, these parameters that you have to exist within are that you must look at your shoes and you mustn't show any emotion, you mustn't demonstrate that you're enjoying yourself, you mustn't use the word love if you're cool, you know. But we all know what love is, it's an emotion, you know. Why not sing about it? People used to in the 80s, you know.
The winner is of the best British band. Oh, my favourite band, The Darkness.
Lowestoft's finest. Sadly, though, no catsuits or tiaras. And just to think, a year ago, nobody had heard of The Darkness. Now the Britain's favourite band are being hailed as the first proper rock stars in over a decade, delivering a much-needed kick in the pants to the British music industry.
Special guitar for me, because it's got the flames from there on the fretboard. It's got my signature on the truss rod cover. I've always thought this Gibson custom thing looks a little bit like H for Hawkins. Obviously, it isn't supposed to represent that at all, but...
you just had it made?
Yeah, I've had 3 of them custom made. And these finishes that they've got on here are totally unique. They ain't never been done before. Yeah, it's stunning, isn't it?
The winners most definitely rock. This is presented to The Darkness.
This public vote really proves the Darkness have truly landed, never the most shy and retiring bunch. We're really looking forward to their performance later on this evening, which threatens to blow everything else away.
And the winner of the MasterCard British album is... What is it? Oh my God, it's Permission to Land, The Darkness.
Brilliant, 3 Brits in total. But this is the award that every self-respecting band wants to win. And well, not only have they put the camp back into Christmas, they've also done wonders for the sales of Lycra catsuits. Permission to Land is the best British album at the Brits 2004. It's the debut album from the Darkness.
Emotions are magic. That's our motto, I suppose you could say. Emotions are magic. That's the key, fundamental guiding principle to the Darkness.
This band is the first time that Justin and I have worked together on something.
Not just the sibling rivalry thing, but I suppose it is to a degree, but mostly because we just didn't agree on music at all, you know.
I asked Justin to sing for the band, and well, said let's start a band. You be the singer, I'll be the guitarist. I didn't know he could sing at all. I honestly couldn't care less whether he could sing or not, because I figured if he could just jump around like an idiot on stage, it would still be more fun than, you know, going through the motions in a session band or in a band full of careerists rather than, you know, rock musicians.
We agreed then that whether I could sing or not, we'd just do a band, you know, for the right reasons rather than a cynical pursuit of the Yankee dollar.
What are the right reasons?
I think in the past some people have been motivated by just getting a record deal, and they think that means you've made it, you know.
The whole point was this band is going to be a band that doesn't basically do things for other people, you know. That won't play the game, because we'd all been in bands before where you're trying to kind of alter the music you're making to fit in, you know, with the here and now, and basically sound like kind of other bands around at the time.
Well, I think one thing we have in common is contrariness and stubbornness.
Straight from the horse's mouth! Get your fucking hands off my woman, motherfucker!
We refuse to be sucked into the fashion scene or the way of doing things that you're supposed to be in London. That's why so few good bands come from London. Best bands, or the important bands, tend to come from the sticks or the suburbs.
Dan was probably the only one that was professional musician, because he'd done session work for people and stuff. I hadn't practiced really for ages. You know, I'd been at college and then just moved to London, and all the time I was at college I wasn't able to practice. Justin was just discovering that he could be a singer, you know, so none of us, it wasn't like the dream team, you know, it was none of us were it wasn't the 4 best musicians ever in the world put together. It was sort of making something work out of the 4 of us.
When a band really works, it's not because you've got the best musicians, it's because you've got, you know, a vibe.
Then again, maybe that's like, the charm of it is that it's not perfect, you know, it's real, you know.
We're not natural performers at all. Myself, Dan and Ed, we've had to work really hard at that side of things. In fact, even in the early days, Justin was quite shy.
I've always sung, and it's never been an epiphany moment where I've suddenly gone, oh, hang on a minute, listen to that voice. Isn't it silky?
In a way, we've all had to work really hard to even force ourselves to be on a stage. And Justin's had to work hard too to be in a situation where he's delivering things in an emphatic and serious kind of way, because his instinct is to be the joker and tomfoolery and just to mess around, you know. So.
Justin basically does his own thing, and he's the star, and we, as the backbone, we basically get it right. Dan said once we set up an open goal for him to score.
It's not easy to do like scissor kicks and do what Justin does every night, you know, and that kind of intensity of delivery. Right, really giving yourself, you know, it's kind of tough.
In terms of like being in a band and knowing each other for years and years, that definitely keeps you together, especially the brother thing, you know, because the brothers could have the worst argument in the world and they'll make up again. Not that they do, but I'm just saying having something like that kind of can tie you together a bit, you know. When I was at school, my brother used to walk around like he owned the place, and he's quite he was good looking and never really struggled with ladies. And I used to see these sort of ugly blokes playing their guitars and achieving lady companions. And I used to think, well, hang on a minute, there's only one difference between that bloke and me. He can play a guitar. So I was determined to get laid, basically. In short. Paid dividends.
We didn't really get on that well at school.
Why was that?
I don't know. I think it's that part of that thing of when you live together as well. It's weird, when he moved out of home at 16 and moved in with his girlfriend when he left school, from that day on we literally were kind of best mates, and all the the animosity kind of disappeared like that. But right up to that point, I mean, you know, it was pretty much opposites.
I used wanting to be a rock star as an excuse for not wanting to be in education anymore, you know, and it didn't. And to have that sort of ideal that is so not going to happen, you know, like just absolutely an unreachable goal, just meant that everything seemed like this magnificent epic quest, you know, even if it was signing on for 8 years or whatever it was. If your goal is rock star, then you never have to actually take part in society as we know it. You can just exist next to it.
I kind of convinced Dan to try and give it another shot with his brother, because he'd said that he'd always had problems being in a band with Justin because they're so different. They always used to fall out, and they're both kind of quite conflict shy.
You had a tremendous drive to get these bands going. Did you ever think that you weren't going to do it at that early stage? Did you just think this isn't working?
No, I always thought eventually one of them would come off. You know, I've actually thought every single band I've been in would be absolutely massive, you know, and then it only becomes apparent, you know, once you kind of start hearing things back. You're playing gigs and you realise you don't enjoy it because your band's shit, basically.
So you left school at what, about 16, to be a musician?
Mm-hmm.
Well, looking back, trying to remember then, was it something you told your friends and your brother, or was it something you were going to do?
I think I told everyone that's what I was going to do from age 9. Luckily my parents took me seriously. I took myself very seriously. When I left school, I thought I could just step into any band. You know, I was a bass player at the time, I thought, right, move to London, get a job. You know, there'll be some bass player will leave a big band, and I'll just step in. You know, whether it's U2 or whatever. It's totally, you know, full of confidence, I suppose.
The Darkness donated some musical instruments and equipment to Kirkleigh Community High, their old school in Lowestoft.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Can I ask, perhaps, you to unveil our plaque?
What can I do?
Oh, yeah, just
There's one thing I love, it's unveiling flag. Here we go. Which is why I smile so often. Okay. Ready? Yep. Woo! Get in there.
I can't get rid of you. Don't know what to do.
I guess I've always been really, like, stupidly ambitious, you know, over-ambitious, definitely. And also, I guess I'm just a pretty good organiser. I'm one of those people that, like, you know, when you play football, I'm the one that starts shouting instantly at everyone, you know, taking control, I suppose. I wouldn't say I'm a control freak, but I don't have a problem with taking things in a direction or, you know, telling people what to do.
You know those brakes squeaking? Not very good, is it? And your car as well.
How did you learn your music? What I read, your parents were tremendously supportive.
They certainly were, but you mustn't speak to them.
Why is that?
Well, because they like it too much, you know. They're into the celebrity of it, I think. Aren't they, Mum? I think it comes from, like, Dad having worked his fingers to the bone throughout his life and sort of having a little bit of regret that he was never a fisherman or a golfer, you know, or somebody who just shot pigeons for a living. And his whole thing was, well, if you want to do it, son, do it. As long as you're happy, that's fine, you know. And there was never any of that sort of, gotta get yourself a proper job thing, you know.
Would you say that the record, that Permission to Land, a lot of it comes out of Lowestoft?
Yeah, I think that's.
So it fed you quite,
yeah,
you
definitely.
quite well.
Oh, certainly, yeah. But I mean, that's another sort of indication of our determination just to be ourselves, really. And I think a lot of bands kind of try and globalise the subject matter of their songs, and they just reduce it all to a very non-specific. Rather than having a story, it could be anywhere.
You start right at the beginning and make a clear statement. This is a little local legend, Black Shock, and you go for it. Because that's this kind of headline. It's saying, look, we're not only who we are, we're not only doing what we want, we're not only making the sound we want, but we're telling a story that comes out of a very small parish, usually a parish, in a remote part of England, and there you go.
Well, I remember visiting Blytheborough Church for the scene of the Black Shock disaster, or myth, as a child.
And his eyes, numbered but one and shone like the sun. And the class picket nearly day at last, all the cherished one. It was a coming. Black shirt, black shirt, with nothing in a thought. Black shirt, black shirt, black shirt, with nothing in a thought.
And they told us about the myth, and they showed us the door with the scratch marks on it and stuff. And
it's where the great beast of a dog with one eye tried to.
Yeah, but then, you know, that's a significant story, really, in that for that part of the town, for that part of the county, you know. And every county has a hellhound, and in a way, it's quite an educational song.
Darkness came along at a time when I think the British music scene really needed a sort of an injection of, I hate to say comedy because a lot of people relate that to them, and that's not what they're about because they're amazing, incredible musicians.
Have you hugged your giraffe today?
I can't understand a word that fucking giraffe's saying to me. Yeah, I had a giraffe named after me in Keshenland Wildlife Village. Heard of it? Yeah, it's a little place just outside Lowestoft. They got 3 giraffes. One of them's called Justin. Intriguing fact of the day. Giving up, giving a fuck!
The song about taking drugs, for instance. There's obviously a drug scene in Lowestoft. There's a drug scene everywhere.
Yeah, there's quite a... It's a strange place, I think. A lot of people come here to... Well, to this region, really. I'm talking about places like Leiston as well, to work in the power station, and there isn't necessarily work there. So for some reason you end up with sort of what they call settlements or sites, and it's sort of it's rife, it's rampant. Though heroin is a huge problem here. You know, and it seems to be getting worse as well. We have a very direct experience of it, but you know, not personally, but it's touched all of our lives, you know, to an extent. And I've had friends die and stuff, so it's same as anywhere else in the country, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's everywhere. But what I mean, I think it's a very powerful song. I'm just trying to dig a bit behind it. What made you write that song instead of the other song, as it were?
Well, at that time, the subject of drugs and how it affects people is often approached in song, and usually in a cryptic way. People usually say, "Oh, let's call it this," and you know, describe that. But you know, trying to be cryptic or judgmental. Do you know what I mean? No one ever approaches it head on and goes, "Well, this is why people do it," you know. And it was a really determined effort to just say it exactly as it is, using as many swear words as is appropriate, and just trying to describe it from a drug user's perspective, you know.
At least provide cocaine, for God's sake. Jesus.
In May 2004, The Darkness received a shot in the arm with a special songwriting award at the Ivor Novellos, an award which momentarily silenced the band's critics.
To songwriters everywhere!
You go. It's just very highbrow. It's been going for about 50 years. I vowed 2 years ago that one day I'd win one, you know, but in your head you just think 20 years' time or whatever, you know. A year later, it's like, you know, 2 years later.
Where's the sort of territory you're moving in now, where you're going to draw the future songs from?
Yeah, that's an issue that we're discussing at the moment. I think, you know, we've got caught in the corporate machine to an extent, and we shouldn't be touring now, you know, because it's stale. It feels like we're robbing the kids. I mean, they're paying to come and see us, and that's fine. They acknowledge that we only have one album and a few B-sides to play, maybe the odd cover, you know. But that's not good enough for us, really. We want to be headlining Reading, but at the end of the day, we want to be doing it with a proper catalogue of songs. And it really kicked in when we played at Tea in the Park, replacing David Bowie, who's obviously a legend.
3 clap, and then on the clap. Yeah.
You know, a great artist with a huge catalogue of brilliant songs. And then we step in, and it's not on. It doesn't feel right. We've got to stop, because at the end of the day, they're going to go, right, you've got 2 weeks to write the album, then you've got to record it. And in that 2 weeks, it'll be like, bloody hell, I need a break, you know, and we won't come up with anything, you know. And you can't write in the back of a bus, because otherwise no one can... Whilst Lowestoft is a barometer for the world, the back of a bus isn't. You know, nobody can relate to songs that are written on the back of a bus or on a plane or in a hotel room, because that's just not life.
Here, the band are waiting to appear on Jay Leno, one of the biggest talk shows in America.
So put on your best, having a great time here in America.
Yeah,
places.
it's brilliant, having a great time.
LA, I love this town!
They'll be coming for in about 5 minutes. Yeah? 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Yeah. You want to pee, go now.
Yeah, don't have a full bladder in front of 25 million people.
No pressure.
No pressure or anything, guys.
It's all relative, guys.
It's so relative.
I don't like LA at all. I think it's a shithole.
I like it though. I enjoyed it after last night. It made more sense. It depends what made you.
You shouldn't have to go into an audience and actually tell them either have a good time or fuck off out the door. People should know that already. And I think it's just a bit insulting that people bother to buy a ticket for a gig and then don't want to have a good time. And it's the restrictive confines of the coolness of LA. Fuck that. Go and live somewhere where you can actually have a good time without having to look over your shoulder and see who's watching.
But then again, they're looking at it where it's.
People in this town are consumed by the desire to be famous.
Also,
and
do
really
not
cool,
ask.
you know, it's
Do not
bollocks.
ask what LA did.
Complete waste of time.
Do not ask what LA can do for you. Ask what you can do for LA.
We've cured LA.
That's a secret.
For a while there. You know, we've made it a better place. Because before we turned up, it was a shithole.
Wake up. Don't always believe what's on the outside, because, oh, on the inside, nothing. Empty. Emptiness.
Vacuum.
There you go. Get down there.
Never believe.
Ne'er falleth the last bastion of glory that this hotel once held.
That's what I think of
Such
English.
faded kind of.
Do it with liquor paint this place.
The Darkness are actually children of rock. I got to spend some time with Justin and Dan's mum in Lowestoft, and she's a rocker. Their mum was a rocker. She used to hang out with Jimi Hendrix in London and, you know, drink whiskey and Jack Daniels with the people who were around at that time. So that's definitely been instilled in Justin and Dan from a really early age.
We always aspired to be an arena stroke stadium band because you get the production value. You know, everyone wants to have inflatables and pyros and lights and stuff, and our music's bombastic and it's an extension of ourselves, and everything is dramatic. And I think music is a facet of the entertainment trade, and if you can't have one without the other, I don't think.
Nobody wanted them to succeed, but a 16-year-old kid in his bedroom only had to hear one song, see one video, and they wanted to buy that record. They're everything that the cool British music media dreaded in one package.
Atlanta was the show where Steven Tyler turned up, right? That's going to instantly make Atlanta a memorable place for me, because in the process of learning guitar, I discovered Aerosmith, and Aerosmith absolutely changed my life. For 15 years I've been like, Aerosmith's been my favourite band, you know, and then for him to turn up, I nearly shat myself. Look at this.
It's just privilege to me.
Yeah, good, how are you?
I'm so good.
Yeah.
From here to there.
Yeah, in a year. I've been bullied at school as well from an early age. I've had like pins stuck in me and stuff like that. But you know, you go home, you listen to your music, and that's what you find fulfilling. You start kind of lose your faith in people, and you realise that what you love is what's important to you. Because at the end of the day, you can try as hard as you like to be popular, but do you really want to be popular amongst people who do that? You know, there's more to life. You know?
There was no scene connected to the Darkness. There was no trail that you could follow of 6 months of fashion where people were predicting that this was going to happen, that a band would come along in leotards and poodle perms and sell over 1 million records in the space of 2 months. That's why it's been begrudged to this day, and that's why right now the same people who begrudged them the success in the media are trying to start a backlash. It's the same people that didn't want them to succeed in the first place are now trying to knock them down off that pedestal, and it won't work because they're a people's band.
Is it something that crosses your mind? Do we have to do something very different? Do we have to reinvent ourselves? If we're gonna, is that come to you at all?
But with us, we've gradually developed this, and it is moving in a direction despite the fact that 4 people are pulling for different things. You know, everyone's motivated by something else in terms of the way we look and the sound and everything. We've all got very different influences and different desires and even ambitions, you know. But at the end of the day, there's a magic there which you just can't contrive, I think, you know. We insisted on keeping this team because it's a winning team, and frankly, there's a slight distrust of anybody else working on this project because you have to have the same desire to do that to the establishment to be able to work this band properly, because it is a punk band on one level. Things should be done on our terms. We should take more control of our career. Otherwise, it's going to go down the Swanee, as Mick Jagger might say.
Heard it on the radio and I said, who is this? Went out and bought it. When I looked at the CD cover, at the guy, I thought, my God, here's the lead singers. Dying breed, but here's a guy who struts his stuff. No more shoegazing, spitting it out, throwing down, singing his ass off. My man.
Making me feel my heart's in overdrive and you're behind the steering wheel, touching you.